So we had a question about problem number 1, which is the Business Week furniture factory manager. We kind of start off with a lot of discussions in this section about costs, and we wanted to be a little clearer on what we mean by cost. So one of the discussions was, costs are not just money that you have to pay for things, but you have these opportunity costs and things like that. But anyway, we throw around these concepts of costs a lot: production costs, marginal costs, that sort of thing. And I guess even that earlier question about the operators, how many operators should we hire and how much should we pay them, that kind of got us thinking in a little bit different way about costs also. But this question is about when this manager took over the furniture factory, they had this wood scrap, $100,000 a year, and he set up this team to deal with the problem. They reduced the amount of scrap to $7,000. The question was, is this question trickier than it seems? It is trickier than just thinking that, well, $7,000 of scrap is less than $100,000 worth of scrap, so he must have done a good job. So it is trickier than that, but we want to figure out, again, in the italicized words there, was this necessarily an economically efficient move? It appears to be, it's clear that there's less of this wood cost there, but again, if we're kind of taking a broader view of what costs are for a firm, does it necessarily make sense to do this? And again, they kind of ask that question I like the way they ask it. Was this necessarily an economically efficient move? So you might not be able to say, well, this was definitely a great thing to do, or no, this was a horrible decision for this company to do. I don't think you're going to get to that level of concreteness in your opinion about what this manager did. We have our seniors do their final project for our undergrads, or even the MBA students used to do a final project. And it was always kind of funny because there would be some company that had problems. They would get a case study, and there would be some company that had problems, and we had to figure out, the students had to figure out, what's the best plan to take for this company. And they'd always come up with these different ideas, or these different, here's one option, we could do this, another option, we could do this. And it was always funny because the marketing people would come up with ideas about new things to do, new products to develop, new advertising campaigns or whatever. And it was all focused on the revenue side of things. Like, oh, if we do this, I know we're going to generate 5% more sales every year. It's going to be so much more money coming in. And I was always like, okay, well, that sounds good that you have all this extra revenue coming in, but how expensive is it to implement this plan? And then I was like, oh, we didn't think about that. And then there'd be another group that would talk about their solution to this company, and they'll say, our company is not profitable now. And so again, the first group, they said their solution was to have this new ad campaign to bring in all this revenue to solve the profitability problem. And then the second group, which had, finance or accounting people in it, they would say, well, we need to trim back this division, we need to scale down this division, we need to cut these costs here and there. And if we do that, we'll become profitable because we'll shave all these costs off of everything. So I would always say, okay, well, you're reducing your costs, but what does that do to your revenue? If you don't have this company, contributing to this part of the business, and if you decide to stop selling this product, what is that going to do to your sales? So it's always funny that the accounting and the finance people would just want to push the cost down, and they would never think about the revenue. And then the marketing people would only think about the revenue, and they would never think about the cost. So again, economists, we want to think about both of those things. And you could probably put what this manager did into one of those groups where we just thought about, well, this is what I'm doing. And again, obviously, $100,000 worth of scrap is worse than $7,000 worth of scrap. So it seems clear that this was a good thing to do. But again, the economist wants to step back a little bit and kind of take a bigger picture approach to things.